wait, what's Metalstorm? It's a truly free-to-play game. Engage in live 5v5 air combat with friends and other real players across the world. Collect and upgrade the world's most advanced and legendary jets and dominate the skies. Available on both PC and mobile devices. Join for free today and conquer the skies. Only on Metalstorm. Hey guys, it's your guy Breezy back again. And boy, do Big Duke and myself have a great video for you. But before we get into that, please do us a favor and hit that like and sub button. It's free and it helps us out tremendously. We do these because we love it, and any support just encourages us to do more. So with that out of the way, here's the question. What does the F-15E have to do with 2 MiGs and an SU? For that, I'll kick it off once again to the Big Duke 6. Tell him about it, Duke.
This is Big Duke 6. This next aircraft is actually not in Metalstorm, but 3 different aircraft that are in Metalstorm are direct descendants of this particular aircraft. So I decided to do a special on it. On September 16th, 1976, Cool-Kegs Air Base soon realized that pilot Lieutenant Victor Belenko had not returned from the day's maneuvers. Believing he had splashed somewhere in the Sea of Japan, the Soviet Defense Forces hadn't realized that Lieutenant Belenko was well on his way to a new life, being he was so internally disillusioned with his old life and with the Soviet regime, especially when he realized that Americans were not the evil beings he was led to believe. The morning he disappeared, Lieutenant Belenko with others from his squadron were to meet with a Russian ship near the Sea of Japan to practice targeting drones. But when Belenko reached the Sea of Japan, he broke from squadron and made a beeline for Japan, staying as low as 100 feet above the ground in water to avoid radar detection. Lieutenant Belenko landed at a civilian airport in Japan, the provincial airport of Hagata. He landed, run out of runway, got the plane stopped, and then he fired 2 warning shots from his cannons. With people gathering around, Lieutenant Belenko exited his plane and officially made the statement he was defecting. It was at this point the airport officials realized they had a defection on their hands of a Soviet pilot and his Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-25, designated the Foxbat by NATO. The Soviet Union's most heavily guarded fighter jet and the most feared aircraft in the world at the time. The first sightings of this particular aircraft was by radar, and the wing size as well as jet size led experts to believe this jet had super maneuverability, being the most deadly dogfighter in the world, consequently spurring the U.S. to create the vaunted F-15 Eagle to hopefully compete. With little to nothing known of the MiG-25 except Israel had caught it on radar flying at Mach 3.2, more than 3 times the speed of sound, which was amazing. When the Western powers realized Japan had a Foxbat at one of their civilian airports, the intelligence community pounced at the opportunity. They disassembled the jet and had experts study the materials thoroughly. It didn't take long to figure out the truth of the matter. The MiG-25 Foxbat was something of a paper tiger. Its massive radar, thought to be state-of-the-art, was actually years behind U.S. models, as well as most of the other elements of the MiG-25. They also realized the twin turbofans that could produce 11 tons of thrust each were starting to disintegrate above speeds of 2,000 miles per hour. When news of the defection hit the Soviet embassy in Japan, the Soviets decided they wanted the return of their Foxbat and the pilot. A few Soviets were even shot trying to get to the Foxbat that was being guarded. Once the U.S. experts learned what they needed to, they boxed up the MiG-25 and returned it back to Mother Russia and charged Russia $40,000 for shipping costs. Consequently, after reverse engineering some of the few components of the MiG-25, the U.S. would create the legendary F-15 Eagle, meant to best the MiG-25 in every conceivable way. To quote one of my favorite content creators, 1040, look out below. Thanks, Habitual Line Crosser. If you haven't seen his content, please go check it out. It's epic. Anyway, back to the story. Lieutenant Belenko became a U.S. citizen and an engineer in the aerospace industry. The Soviet Union tried to improve the aircraft, but ended up pursuing other models that would make up for the expectations of the MiG-25 Foxbat, like the Su-27 Flanker and the MiG-31 Foxhound, which are jets we will cover at a later date. The Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-25 NATO designation Foxbat was a supersonic interceptor and reconnaissance jet and one of the fastest jets ever created. It was the last design actually made by Mikhail Gurevich himself before retiring. Its first flight was in 1964, and this heavily guarded warbird was introduced in 1970. Though it could reach speeds of Mach 3.2, its operational top speed was Mach 2.83 to keep the engine from disintegrating. In March 1964, the first reconnaissance prototype designated YE-155R1 took its first flight. The first interceptor prototype, YE-155P1, flew on September 9th, 1964. In 1965, the Foxbat set the speed record, flying over 1,800 miles per hour for over 311 miles. The climb records were recorded within the Foxbat, climbed 65,617 feet in 2 minutes and 49 seconds on June 4th, 1973. On July 25th, 1973, Boris Orlov reached a height of 584,000 feet, where the engines flamed out due to the thin air. In total, the Foxbat set 29 records that were claimed, with 7 being all-time world records. Several of these records still stand today. Max altitude flight without afterburning was 39,000 feet. The specific fuel consumption was 112 pounds per Newton without afterburner and 2.45 pounds per Newton with afterburner, about 50% worse than the F-15's F-100 engines. The MiG-25 Foxbat was built from a nickel steel alloy, something similar to stainless steel, not titanium. Its avionics were of the old vacuum tube variety, which was an aging tech, but at the time it was feasible to use, I assume. Its Smerch A radar was powerful, putting out 600 kilowatts, though later the MiG-25 got a Sapphire 25 radar with infrared search and track system installed. The MiG-25 has served in many operations of conflict, suffering a few losses. There were a few variants of the MiG-25 that were created, or the MiG-25 was upgraded. Here are some overall specs on the MiG-25 Foxbat. Empty weight was 44,092 pounds, gross weight 80,954 pounds, with 2 Tumansky R-15B 300 afterburning turbojet engines, max speed of Mach 2.83, service ceiling of 67,900 feet with ordnance, rate of climb 40,900 feet per minute, with its avionics consisting of a Smerch A2 vacuum tube based radar with a Smerch A3 being installed after Belenko's defection. Also, it had a Pulse Doppler RP-25M, aka the Sapphire 25 radar, with RVUM or an RV4 radar altimeter. The 2 BVP 5060 flare dispensers had 30 rounds each. It also had Lazor or Band 75 data link, an IF SR70-2N or a SR7M-2 transmitter and receiver for its communications. It also had SAU 155P1 auto control system and a KM1 ejection seat, which was replaced by the KM-1M in later models. It had a few other avionic variations also. Although the MiG-25 Foxbat was considered a paper tiger after Lieutenant Belenko's subsequent defection, it did leave a lasting legacy, beginning with the fear and dread it created and ending with the reinvention for the Soviet Union as well as the United States. Because the Foxbat was directly responsible for the U.S. creating the legendary F-15 Eagle and the Soviet Union developing the Su-27 Flanker and the MiG-31 Foxhound, which all three of these particular aircraft are in Metalstorm, a 5 versus 5 jet fighter game. And we were wanting to tell you the story of how these three particular aircraft were related. Although the Foxbat is not in Metalstorm, its predecessors, like I said, are. So join Metalstorm, jump in the Soviet Su-27 Flanker and pound the ground, smashing bogies into submission, or jump in the MiG-31 Foxhound and use more finesse striking bogies with a variant long-range radar missile disrupting the enemy's game plan. Or jump in the F-15, which is a balanced aircraft with a complement of 4 radar-guided missiles and medium-range missiles with a rotary cannon. It sports great balance, durability, agility, and speed, and with a 205 hit point, it is a deadly weapon in disguise. So come join us in Metalstorm. Maybe you'll find me in game. Hey, we can join up, fly together, or create a custom flight. There's so many ways you can play in the game. Until next time, this is Big Duke 6.